A line of storms with our first cold front will quickly move east across the rest of Texas today, followed by a stronger cold front coming on in tomorrow. Let's talk about it in this Monday edition of the Texas Weather Roundup. Good morning. It's Monday, the 18th of November, 2024. I'm Texas Storm Chasers Baldy and Chief David Reimer. We've been burning the midnight oil up all night, pulling it all night, or keeping an eye on thunderstorms across Texas. Fortunately, we have not had any tornado warnings thus far. I'll give you a hint. We're actually recording this at about 4:15 a.m., trying to knock this out before we conjure up any sort of spinny doom mischief, because that's usually what happens when I try to record one of these on a storm morning. We did have maybe a spin-up tornado northwest of Midland late last evening, and then storms in northwest Texas with strong wind gusts. But as soon as they hit the Red River and moved into southwest Oklahoma, they produced at least 4 or 5 tornadoes around the Altus up towards Mangum, Oklahoma area. So we got lucky with that they held off until they moved into Oklahoma. But of course, we don't wish that on our friends north of the Red River either. All right, let's go ahead, take a look at we're going to actually take a look at severe weather outlook first. Now, this severe weather outlook, this is from 6 a.m. this morning, so pretty much the time we release this video all the way through about 4 p.m. That's the time we think it's going to be until the storms move out of Texas and Louisiana, Arkansas. What we have is a line of storms ongoing this morning that's going to quickly continue moving east, about 40 to 50 miles an hour. Some of those storms could produce wind gusts over 60 miles an hour, and we can't rule out brief tornadoes. We have a lot of low-level wind shear, and even though we've been lucky so far overnight, we can't completely rule out a spin-up tornado as these storms continue moving east this morning. Now, once they make it east of Interstate 35, they're going to encounter a more stable low-level air mass, which should help bring the severe weather threat down, at least keep it on the isolated side. But we can't completely rule out a damaging wind gust over 60 miles an hour and maybe a brief tornado. Regardless, this line of storms will be producing a quick round of heavy rain and gusty winds. We do know once the storms exit your location, skies are going to clear pretty quickly, and we are anticipating gusty west winds. We may see a slight uptick in severe weather potential this afternoon in the Golden Triangle, far east Texas, if we have additional storms develop during the peak afternoon heating hours, but that is a questionable occurrence versus one that is guaranteed. All right, let's take a look at the high-res rapid refresh model for this morning through tonight into tomorrow. You can see storms generally are going to exit Texas off to the east as we get into this afternoon. And the expectation is that line itself will mostly be out of the state by early to mid-afternoon. We could see a few thunderstorms continue in far southeast Texas, the Golden Triangle, through the mid to late afternoon before all that activity exits by probably 4 to 5 p.m. Central. And again, we are expecting the line of storms to be much weaker east of I-35. It may not be much more than a quick little round of brief moderate to heavy rainfall and gusty winds. There may not even be that much lightning with it. And that's going to be because the atmosphere is simply not going to be as unstable. Behind that line of storms, you see skies clear pretty quickly. Some residual wraparound moisture in the Panhandle through early afternoon. That exits, leaving sunny skies through the late afternoon hours behind that line of storms for most of Texas. Clear skies tonight outside of the Rio Grande Valley, where we could see a few showers. And then Tuesday, we're looking at northwest winds. Reinforcing cold front arrives with at times gustier north winds and clear skies. For what it's worth, we'll take a look at the longer range American weather model Wednesday through, Saturday. And I'll give you a hint. It's going to be dry. After this morning and afternoon's round of rain, we're dry, probably for a week. It looks like at least 5 to 6 days, another extended period of dry weather, which we don't necessarily need. I mean, the rain we can get would be welcome, but at the same time, it does beat having a tornado outbreak or an ice storm or something like that. As you can see, we're going to recover pretty quickly in the wind department. We'll be back to southerly winds by Thursday. That's going to result in above average temperatures returning to Texas, at least during the daytime hours, as we head into Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, but we definitely have some cooler weather on the way first and some cold mornings, especially Wednesday and Thursday. We'll talk about that in just a minute. Here's the fire weather outlook from the Texas A&M Forest Service the next few days. You can see today we may actually have high to very high fire danger in the Big Bend, the Trans-Pecos, the Edwards Plateau. Again, areas that didn't get rainfall. The potential high to very high for wildfire danger, a little lower tomorrow. And then on Wednesday, we could have high to very high fire danger along the Interstate 35 corridor, Central Texas, through the Brazos Valley Hill Country, South Texas, Rio Grande Plains, into deep South Texas. And again, for most folks on I-35, especially Central Texas, the Brazos Valley, and South, we're not going to see more than a quick quarter to maybe half inch of rain, which is going to result in most of that being dried out pretty quickly with surface fuels. We're going to have a lot of wind over the next few days, and with that cold front coming in, we'll talk about that as well. So here are the temperature forecasts the next several days. Here's today's highs. And again, this is going to be one of these situations where temperatures are probably going to peak in the morning hours, northwestern half of the state, with those gusty west winds. We may fall this afternoon. We're looking at 50s in the Panhandle, 60s northwest third of the state, 70s and 80s to maybe even low 90s southeastern half of Texas. Tomorrow, cold front number 2, the stronger one, arrives. Highs only probably in the 40s in the Panhandle, falling through the day. 50s West Texas, 60s, 70s, 80s the rest of the state. But again, we could see temperatures trying to fall during the afternoon hours, depending on how quick that cold front moves south. Now, here are the low temperatures for Wednesday morning. We're expecting a hard freeze, temperatures down to the 20s. In the Panhandle, West Texas, the potential for at least a localized freeze. The borderland, Davis Guadalupe Mountains, the Trans-Pecos, Permian Basin, the Big Country, Northwest Texas, into the Concho Valley. Southeastern half of the state looks like we're going to be in the 40s and 50s, but y'all's turn comes Thursday morning. Highs on Wednesday, we're looking at mostly 50s northwestern third to northwestern half of Texas, 60s to 70s Wednesday afternoon, southeast half of the state, a very dry air mass, which is why the fire danger is going to be high. As we go into Thursday morning, it's going to be cold. Not necessarily frigid for late November, but yeah, definitely some of the coldest weather we've seen so far this fall, which isn't saying much, but we could see temperatures into the 30s across the northern two-thirds of the state. This is going to be a situation where light winds will allow for those valleys, sheltered regions, to be much cooler than areas on top of a hill or in the urban city corridors. So 30s, northern two-thirds of the state, some folks with a frost and or light freeze. We're looking at mostly 40s, southern third of the state with 50s, right around 50, the immediate Texas Gulf Coast into the Rio Grande Valley. So yeah, it's going to be on the cool side to chilly Thursday morning across the state, but this is not a holy moly guacamole crashy the cold front, break out the 3 winter coat situation. Thursday afternoon, impressive temperature rebound. We're going to be in the 60s to 70s across most of the state Thursday afternoon. And again, a very dry air mass in place, meaning fire danger will probably be on the high to very high side. Same story on Friday. And again, we're just not expecting rain after today through at least the rest of the work week, if not maybe into early next week. So we take a look at the Climate Prediction Center outlook for the 23rd through 27th, so this will take us up to the period right before Thanksgiving. We're looking at above average temperatures, so not seeing another big cold front on our doorstep after tomorrow, which means it's going to be warm. And then the precipitation outlook, below average. Now, does that necessarily mean we're going to have a warm and dry Thanksgiving? No, we'll talk about that as we get a bit closer, but we could. So that'll be it for your Texas Weather Roundup on this Monday. Again, main weather story is going to be today. Line of storms moving across the eastern third to the eastern half of Texas. Generally, it'll be strongest along and west of 35 for the first few hours this morning, weakening across the eastern half of the state. Gusty winds behind the line of storms. We can't completely rule out a localized damaging wind gust and or a brief tornado, but the overall severe weather threat not looking impressive in that regard. We'll keep an eye on the Golden Triangle this afternoon. Otherwise, all that moves out late this afternoon and evening, leaving us dry for probably the next 6 to 7 days, with a brief cool down before above average temperatures return this weekend. As always, you can track the Texas weather with our free Texas Storm Chasers mobile app. Just search for Texas Storm Chasers where you download apps for your device. You can get your local weather forecast across the United States, interactive weather radar daily, Texas weather roundups, and more. And of course, we appreciate those of y'all watching us on YouTube. Just search for Texas Weather Center. Join the family. You know what? Love having you. And that's it. I'm done talking. We got through making this video without any tornado warnings in Texas. That is a blessing. If we have tornado warnings over the next few hours, well, now you know what caused it. I'm sorry. We'll keep an eye on the sky. Y'all have a great Monday. We'll talk to you again soon. God bless.